Because in Edinburgh, everyone's funny. So it's almost like they need to stop you when you come into, you know, when it says welcome to Scotland, and they need to stop you at the side and go, are you doing the Fringe? Yeah, why? I'm funny. Everyone's funny, mate. Turn around. What else you got? Well, I'm funny. Yeah, what else though? What's happening underneath?
Did you travel down today?
Yeah, I'm doing an awards after tonight.
Oh, nice.
So I'm doing the marketing awards or something at underneath the Globe Theatre. Shakespeare Globe Theatre. There's a venue under there.
There's a little venue there. Yeah,
so I'm hosting that tonight and doing
decent. Come on, corporate gigs.
Suit in a bag, mate. When my missus, when Gemma sees me set off and I've got the suit in a bag, she's like, Waitrose, straight to Waitrose, spending it before it's even gone in. I'm like, suit on, is it? All right, be all right then. You know.
Well, thank you for joining me on the
pleasure.
Beginning, Middle and End podcast. I really appreciate you coming down. Do you know what I mean? Even though I know you got a show and stuff, but no, you know, I appreciate you coming down, man.
Anytime.
Do you know what I mean?
It's amazing to be asked. Thank you.
No, like we've never like touched base like this as well. So like I am a fan of just comedy, but just like having the comedy one-to-one chats. I think those little relatabilities in our world, because we had Jason Manford on and Jason said he was like, everyone outside our world thinks what we do is like so cool and so great.
Yeah.
And it's not that we don't, but we're like, yeah, that's just my job. Like today, like I do a podcast and then I'm gonna go and host, you know, the marketing awards, and we're like, that's normal. But we know that also, well, I know, especially doing one of those corporates, there's gonna be someone who's gonna go up on stage to give out an award and they're gonna try a joke. And then, you know, like, I don't know if you had this at corporates and they go, oh, it's quite hard doing this stuff, isn't it? And you're like, yeah, and then we come back and you're like, anyway, let's move on. And then you cracking some joke, and then you start realising, you're like, bro, this really is like it's that power that you realise I think sometimes we have to the juxtaposition to do a podcast, award show. Like I know a bunch of other comics that will be like, yeah, I'm going to do some late night shows at 12 o'clock. And I'm like, 12 o'clock? But people will always laugh no matter what time of day or what's going on, you know? Yeah,
and I think sometimes we do take it for granted, but it's like it must be like something you do so regularly becomes so normalised.
Yeah.
Even though it's not normalised. I always tell people where I'm going and they're blown away by the mileage. Like I live in Nottingham and they go, where are you next week? I go, Northampton. They go, oh, are you staying over? I'm like, it's an hour and 40. Like anything up to 4 hours, comedians will drive.
Yeah.
People just don't flinch. But then you tell some other people, they go, oh, you can't get their head around it, you know.
Yeah. I always find it whenever I do shows outside of like the UK, like if I've done, especially when I've done some in Europe, because I've never really done any shows in Europe before. So once I've done shows in Europe and people are like, oh God, what was it like there? Did they understand it? I'm like, yeah, they probably speak better English than we do.
Yeah.
Like they get everything. They know everything. So
well, also as well is relationships are relationships. The world is the world. People's viewpoints.
Yes.
We're all unified by a similar frustrations and similar desires and aspirations, which is kind of wonderful in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So you're from Yorkshire. That's where you're born and raised, right?
Yeah, Pontefract, which not many people know.
Okay.
It's just famous for Haribo.
Really?
There's a Haribo factory there.
Is it? Yeah. I didn't know that, you know.
That puts it on the map, doesn't it?
Yeah. Do you see how my eyes lit up?
Yeah,
really?
Diabetes. The home of diabetes.
That's where those eggs are coming from.
Yeah, the little fried eggs. We find out. I could say you were really impressed by that, weren't you? That
was like wow.
Stratford-upon-Avon and Shakespeare, wasn't it? The eggs? No, you can't be. Really? Is there a tour? There's people queuing, you know, like they do the Harry Potter at King's Cross. People stood outside next to a big egg.
People didn't used to queue up for that. You know that?
No.
Yeah, so there used to be a time where you could just walk past it and just take a picture, and it wasn't a thing. I don't know what happened in the last... Do you know what I think what happened is they revamped the station, and I think once they revamped it, I think they had like a little Harry Potter store there as well now.
Right.
And I think there's also a train... I don't know if this is right, but I feel like there's a train that takes you to the studios.
Okay.
So a lot of tourists go there. So on the way there. But I remember there used to be a time where you could just walk past because they used to have the trolley inside the wall. It was a thing. I remember. I'd be like, I've never really watched the Harry Potter films, so I've never been like, I've seen the first one. Yeah. But I was like, there's a trolley in the wall. But when you live here, you're like, I'm running late. I'm on my last warning at work.
Yeah.
I don't care for this. But now it's become a thing where there's queues there and stuff. So,
but you're spoiled for stuff like that down here, aren't you? It's so much culture and
we
stuff
take it for granted, man.
Passively, it passes over you, doesn't it? If you're so busy and stuff, you know.
Yeah, like I was in Central yesterday. I drove past and there was all these people queuing up to take a picture next to a telephone box. Wow. And I was like, why is there a queue? You can get another telephone box around the corner, but I didn't realise that telephone box directly you can see Big Ben.
Oh,
I didn't know that. But when I seen it, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah. But I think when you live in a place, you can take it for granted until it's me in New York and I'm taking the picture.
You're the one walking around.
You know what I mean? You know, if you go to Paris, I think there's that place we called the Louvre with the triangle and everyone does that. And they're like, it looks like it's my finger on it.
If another person points to that Louvre, pretends it's really small, pretends to be a giant, doing the tricker's perspective,
that's
I'm going to
me.
lose it.
That is always me, man.
Yeah.
I'm holding it in my palm.
Slip into the tourist vibe,
man. But your father had a proper not trade job, but your father was a fireman, right?
Yeah.
And your mum was a hairdresser.
Yeah. So, but I mean, my dad worked 2 jobs as well. Because most firemen do.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I don't know when he slept. It was that weird thing. Like he was a decorator as well. Yeah. So I always imagine he brought someone out of a fire, and then going back down the ladder, he was like, do you want a quote for putting it right? a little business card in his pocket. Yeah. Just grab that, mate. I'll come back next week and get the wallpaper up for you. But yeah, he worked 2 jobs, and my mum was a mobile hairdresser. So I just remember him just constantly grafting. It's
they're hard graft jobs, man.
Yeah. They really are, yeah. And it is, yeah, it was sort of like the classic working class jobs, really, isn't it?
Yeah. How did that kind of shape your upbringing as a kid? Because you grew up on shows like Red Dwarf, which you quote as one of your favourite shows, like The Young Ones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, watching tapes of like Spike Milligan. So having your parents working so much, did that leave a lot of time for you to be at home and really take in all those things you loved about comedy?
Yeah, I suppose the weird thing for me is like when you see your parents working, like they sort of like, my mum and dad I never woke up thinking I didn't have anything, but I know how hard it was for them to get it. Yeah. You know, that sort of like real drive and real sort of work ethic, and I think that stuck with me a little bit. But my dad had a bit of humour because of the jobs, like gallows humour, isn't it? You know, the firemen, it's a real camaraderie.
Yeah.
So they sort of used humour to cope. So I think comedy's always been there, and I think it's always been part of the family, really.
It's definitely a northern thing, comedy.
Yeah.
Like, not to say that but I feel like when I go up north, there is a warmth and a friendliness, and I just feel like everyone's funnier up north than we are down here, down south.
I used to think, I think it's that sort of friendliness, isn't it? And that sort of the guards down a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like sometimes I when I go back to see my mum and dad and stuff, and see all their friends and stuff, you realise how much they're just open. They feel like the body language is open and everything. Yeah. You know, which tends to make conversation easier and humour easier. But like my dad's whole life was like fire station, and like I used to remember as a kid, because he was working shifts. Yeah, it just sort of just like hearing an engine go, and then he'd be off to work again, and then the house would smell of smoke sometimes when he'd come back in and stuff. Yeah. I just remember sniffing his jacket and that, because I can't even imagine him being a fireman. I can't even imagine him doing that job. It's so weird.
And it's a job that's also like dangerous as well. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those jobs that know, like, like he could not come home the next day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And you don't think of that when you're a kid. You don't think. I mean, the station he was in was small, so he sort of said to me, he says a lot of the time they were playing snooker and sleeping 14 hours and stuff. But then towards the end of his career, he did go to like this city, play in Leeds, and he did like a really intense, like high adrenaline. There was loads of car fires. They were getting bricked. And I said, "Oh, that must have been terrifying." He was like, "It's amazing." It was like his Top Gun moment. Do you know what I mean? He was called up at the last minute, so he sort of loved it. Really, he loved the adrenaline of it, and I wonder if that's come through the genes a little bit. That Do you know what I mean? Even though he's not performing, there's a little bit of an adrenaline rush there, isn't there? When you're sort of driving down the road and smashing car wing mirrors off in a fire engine, you're like, I'm allowed to do this.
Well, it's interesting how I feel like your father's job to your job is quite similar in the sense of, you do this thing that people are amazed at and you change lives. Do you know what I mean? So it's quite similar.
I don't know if my dad would say it that way.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
I risked my life. You did 10 minutes. Do you know what I mean?
But then I see where your mum comes into it through the hustle of being a hairdresser as well. That's a creative... it's a creative thing to go like, cool, your hair looks like this and it's going to be like this afterwards. It's the same kind of format with comedy. Do you know what I mean?
My mum's a really interesting one because she when she was hairdressing, it's like really old people she'd specialise in, but it ended up being that way. Yeah. So she'd do these little like wardinated flats and it was just the same old people. And she'd chat for hours with them. Then she'd go and get like their milk and go. It was like social work with an haircut thrown in. Do you know what I mean? It was like that. And I think a lot of that chat and that, I almost can see her as a sitcom character. It's a bit Victoria Wood, where she's sort of chatting, you know what I mean? And I was like, you could do this far quicker if you weren't like, nipping to the shops for them every 15 minutes. But they saw her as a bit of a lifeline, I think.
I think they do. Definitely, like barbers, it's the person you can open up to that is in charge of your hair and you just have to sit there. You just have to sit there while someone just cuts your hair and you're like, so how you been? Or it's the relief of like
they catch you at a really honest moment as well. Because I don't think my barber knows what I do. So there's weird moments where I think it's leaking through a little bit now, and I'm waiting for the day where he says I saw you or something, and then the whole
might be watching this right now.
Yeah, well, the whole world collapses. Then I've got to find a new place to have my haircut because it's that anonymity that I quite liked. I like being when I have my haircut, I'm sort of like Clark Kent. Undercover, and there's that sort of rhythmic thing of I think it does bring out the honesty in you, and you're quite relaxed and you start chatting. It's quite interesting, isn't it? It disarms you a little bit.
And so from a young age, you was obviously inspired by comedy from the shows that you liked and stuff. But then you studied product design at Loughborough University. Before you started like comedy.
So comedy. I'll be honest with you. At school, I was sort of. I don't know what you were like at school. I was quiet. I didn't really formulate my personality. I think back and I think I was quite nervous. I was quite not in any particular clique, sort of just floating between people. And I think what happened was I think comedy formulated my personality. I think when I was sort of 13, 14 and like Harry Enfield and Chums was on and there was like Red Dwarf and Young Ones, and I think I used that and I used lines from that and I could recite stuff like I could recall was really good. And I think sometimes you look and you go, oh, that can be me for a bit, and I think I sort of used it as a bit of a flex in a weird way.
When you was in school, like, so you say that as a teenager where you found like your funny bones in some ways?
I mean, I had a lot of weird things happen as a teenager. So I always like played sport and stuff, but there's a really weird thing that I used to play football, but I'd never get a game. I was always a sub. So I'd watch other kids like follow the dreams, and I'd be sort of stood there waiting. And then I got a trophy. I remember they gave me like a Clubman of the Year one, which was essentially just for being on the touchline, like resilience. I think there was a point where they were going, is he ever going to quit? Do you know what I mean? Can he not smell failure? What? How many times do we have to not give him a game? And I think there was something about that perseverance as a kid where you just keep going and keep going. And so there was that element. And then when I was 15, I had a weird moment where I had like a testicle removed. It was like a weird... So I had torsion testes. I don't know if you've heard of this.
No, what's this?
It's like when you grow up, when you're going through puberty, you can get a growth spurt and it tangles internally.
Oh, right, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's really...
Wow.
Yeah, quite common, apparently.
Yeah.
And they couldn't save it. So I had when you have a bollock removed at 15, you think, right, I'm going to have to either laugh about this or not. Do you know what I mean? You can't, every time you open a tin of plum tomatoes, you think, you're right back there going, oh, God, I'm reliving this. So you sort of, I think what happened was, that was definitely a point, 15, after that happened, where comedy became more than just... I like comedy. I was like, I love it. I love the escapism of it. And I love... It was that feeling of like seeing the magic of how you can escape and you can get in, and I found things. And what I love about comedy is once you start, it's like a little trail. You can find influences, and it's like music, and it just spreads. And then before you know it, you're discovering stuff all the time, you know?
Yeah. I think when you're a teenager... Because I'd say I discovered comedy at the same time as a teenager. Right. Of watching Def Comedy Jams and seeing them talk about things that I was like, you guys talking about things that I didn't know this was not really that funny. It's quite serious. But I remember going and telling everyone, hey, I'd seen this DVD and this comic says this, and people were laughing, but almost like, that's what the comic said. That's not my joke. But then almost like... being like, I like the power of telling everyone a joke.
And then he'd go, Mo, do that bit of... And then you become the jukebox.
Yeah, a little bit, And for me, it was almost like impressions or accents. Yeah. Accents was like my thing, where we'd always get a lot of Australian supply teachers. So the minute... I would get...
an Australian supply teacher?
Oh, my God. In London...
What sort of feeder system is that?
I don't know, but in London, like 9 times out of 10... if your teacher wasn't in, it would always be an Australian supply teacher.
That is bizarre.
It was always the thing. Yeah. It's like, all right, guys, my name's... we're like, listen, we don't need to know your name. You're going to be here for a day. Do you know what I mean?
My God. I bet home and away neighbours and Australian supply teachers.
Yes. And then the thing is, because there was Australian, we always knew that, we'd say, sir, like, where are you from? You sound like you're from New Zealand. And they would hate it so much. Yeah. And if someone's from New Zealand, we'd be like, are you Australian? They're like, no, I'm actually from New Zealand, actually. So, but that was like the first, like when I would imitate the teacher. Yeah. The class would love it. Yeah, like
I remember doing drama, and the drama teacher would get me to do impressions of the other teachers.
Oh yeah,
and I'd stand and do them, and there was teachers, and you could just, I remember just picking up on little things. We had a physics teacher who I can't remember his name. It was just a boiling anger. It was like a character. It was always like a Jerry Sadowitz, but doing physics. So he'd start off quite calm, and then gradually you could see like his tie was tightening and he's doing this. Like, I just think he had an anger issue. But then he was like, there was explosive moments where he'd lose it, then he'd try and hold it back together. I just, now looking back, you just think, God, what a roller coaster day. It's just, you can see him just going like this. So there's always impressions of him with his explosive anger, but in the middle of experiments and stuff. And then we had another teacher. When you pick up on these things, I think what you're actually doing is you're zeroing in on the funny. You don't realise you're doing it, but you're going, I've seen that. And then we had another teacher who was technology, who'd just drift off. So they'd be in the middle of a sentence and then he'd just sort of look into the distance, stop, and then everyone's like, it's almost like he was a robot powering down, like almost AI. And then he'd start again. And these little quirks, I just thought, I've noticed all them. And so when you relay it back, you sort of go, there was something, but I didn't even know what that was. I was just enjoying making people laugh at that point, really. But it never went out of, I never thought, I'm going to use, he never was using it or anything. It just, I think it was just coming via us, just distilling down as the years went on. And I just got more and more confident with it, I think.
How did design... Because you've done product design at Loughborough. How did that kind of play into your career path at a young age?
Well, I think what happened was, obviously I've seen my mum and dad grafting and stuff, and I just thought, well, that I like comedy, but there's no you don't make money out of that. You can't live off that. So it's that classic thing of they've never been on stage. No one in my family has done any performance. And I just thought, well, I can't even consider that as a real thing. So I thought, well, I like drawing, I like art. And then I was too scared to do that, be an artist. So all the way through my life, I'm looking and going, the things I really enjoy, I was too frightened to commit to, like risk averse. And then I just thought, well, design is something you can make money of, but still be creative. And so that became the thing where I really enjoyed it. And, you know, my mum, when I started doing that, I look now at the parallels, which is like perfectionism, you're creating something, you're trying to look at the world around you and respond to things that are going on. The threads are quite tight with comedy, really. But yeah, my parents didn't, you know, they got proper jobs. That's what they did, and went to uni and did well at uni. And so my mum and dad were like, all right, we're sorted now. And you can see it in their eyes. Where it's almost like parents, when they get you to a certain point, the handbrake goes off. Yeah. And they go, we're done. That one's done. Like the chick can fly out the nest now. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like they go like, well, our bit's over. And then you turn around and go, oh, by the way, I've quit my job and I'm going to be a comedian. They go, oh, you can't do it now. We want our life back. Like my mum's got such a strange attitude. I told her I was coming to do this podcast today, and she was like, London. She was like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, for her, me going to London is such an effort. For them, it's like, oh, that's a lot of work for you. Yeah. And I'm like, no, it's fine. It's a positive thing. Yeah. So I think design for me was the option that felt safer, that was still creative.
Yeah, yeah. And you met your wife at university, right?
Yeah, Gemma. So we met at uni in Freshers Week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Week one.
That's week one, where the desperate people check out, Mo. Where the people who don't want to be
at university, man.
What was we doing? We even both look at each other sometimes and go, what were we doing? The needy people checked out. Like, please, I don't want to die alone, you know.
Loughborough University is a great university, though.
Yes.
Because I know it's known for, like, sport and stuff as well, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, I did design. My wife did languages. But it's the only uni, I think, where you can be coming back from a night out at 3 a.m, you can see people training.
Oh,
like going for runs and sort of getting up and stretching and drinking eggs and stuff. It was like a real scholarship uni. And it's sort of like an American version of a British uni. It feels like you're at Yale or something. It's like a lot of it's on campus. So you're not thrown into a big... Again, that was another decision where I was offered Birmingham and Manchester. And I was like, oh, I'm a bit... I felt like, that's ridiculous. I was like, it's a bit big and a bit unknown and a bit frightening. So I got... Loughborough felt like a little contained world, you know. So you were sort of leaving home, but you weren't really.
Because I guess with Birmingham and Manchester, it feels like the city is bigger than the university. You're like... It's not the fact that you're studying, you're like, I'm moving to Manchester.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm moving to Birmingham. And you're like, that's a whole juxtaposition of from the life you have to be like, it's like if I said to my friends, I'm like, oh, I've got a show in Birmingham or Manchester, they're like, oh, that would be good. That'd be a big one. Yeah. Whereas if I said like Loughborough, they'd be like, oh, nice. That'd be a nice little playhouse there, and that'd be lovely, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you do notice that when the students aren't there, it's a couple of pensioners and the whole place is just dead.
Yeah, it's those student kind of towns, right?
Yeah.
Like Loughborough, it's like heavily like summertime when they're all gone. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
There's really nothing going on.
Yeah, and it was a weird one because Gemma got in, she came in through clearing, which I like to remind her of every now and then.
That's old school, man.
Yeah, well, do you not know that? Clearing, mate. She was meant to go to Sheffield, and she didn't get the results. She ended up at Loughborough, but she was living off campus. So the weird thing was I was living in halls, and then the room below me became vacant, and Gemma knew someone who was in my hall from her course, and then that's how it happened. So she just moved in below me, and then we just met. So it's like a weird fate thing where you always look at that and just think I don't think we'd have ever met if she'd have worked hard at her A-levels.
Yeah, it's interesting that with your partner where like you You know, you're like, we would never have crossed paths.
Absolutely.
In any way, shape or form. It just happened that in this part of our lives, we crossed paths. But any other time, it just wouldn't have been possible.
That's what I find so weird, is that everyone's got these trajectories, and then sometimes something can happen, and then it changes your entire life. Yeah. Because then you got children, and you go like, well, that wouldn't have happened, and then it's like you sort of you take it for granted a little bit, but you don't. I don't think you realise when you're in that moment that this how seismic it is until you look back on it. But meeting her at uni, and Gemma's a massive comedy nerd, so that was something we connected with, because I remember in this was the era before we had tellies in the room and stuff, and in the common room or the social room, they used to put on like Shooting Stars and I'm Alan Partridge, we used to go watch it in there, and that's how we sort of bonded, really.
Yeah. And what year was this?
97.
97. Okay, yeah.
The way you said that then.
Britpop era.
97. Yeah. Wow. What was it like? Were you all on penny farthings? Did they have phones back then? Tell me about the old times, Scott. What was it like?
No, but
Did they have currency and digital clocks?
No, because when you said 97, so I was in primary school then.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so I was in primary school, but I started secondary school in 99. So so I'm not like sometimes you could say 97, you're like, I was 2 then.
I know, yeah.
It's like I remember it, but I wasn't there for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you got to be there for it, mate. You weren't there. It's like Vietnam, you weren't there, mate, in 97. Let me tell you about 97, mate. OK Computer came out, Radiohead won the Mercury Music Prize. The landscape was different, mate, in 97.
So I was in primary school, and then secondary school I started in 99.
Oh man, I look back now though, and it was weird because things have moved on. Like they used to have no mobiles, really. Yeah. So they had like a phone box, and we used to ring our respective parents from the phone box. And when you've got a spark between you both go into the phone box together and have you'd be ringing and like messing about and stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing explicit, obviously, but you know that sort of like those moments of touch and connection where you go like, oh God, that's so weird, because that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
and
no one goes
little
to
thing where you write, and Gemma did a year in Germany where she was teaching in Germany, and I was doing a year in industry somewhere, working at Stoke-on-Trent, and we'd write letters. It's like it feels like such a, looking back now, it feels like a costume drama or something. Yeah. But you go like, that was sort of the start of things, really, and she loved comedy. Like I remember when we had a chat, and I've been in relationships before, and the comedy was something I'd kept like down, like it was just a thing. But then when we started chatting, and Gemma could see, like what I loved about it is she would watch Partridge in the same way I'd watch Partridge, where not just the jokes, it's the mannerisms and do you see the way he did that little pause, and the way how wonderful it is, and how it's this rich comedy character, and I was just like, you are passing the test. That sort of, it's like being in love with a nerd, an attractive nerd that's on your same wavelength,
and they just love the thing that you love, and you're like, oh right, this is this.
Well, because what I found last time when I've been with someone is I think my natural comic was trying to entertain people, or trying to entertain that person I was with, and trying to be funny. And with Gemma, I didn't feel like I had to do that as much. And I was like, oh, something's quite different here. And then I thought, oh God, she likes me for me. I'm in trouble. You know what I mean? I'm going to have to be me now. I don't want to be me.
Start peeling off the layers of the onion, man.
Mate, I tell you, we were right in the middle of the onion. While you were doing potato prints and massing about with glitter, I was in the middle of the onion with my future wife, mate.
So then you started, you first tried stand-up in 2009.
So quite late, really.
Yeah, and that was around the time I think I might have started comedy around that time, 2009, maybe 10-ish.
Yeah.
What? Because I think I'm interested in is what made you kind of gravitate to comedy, because you, at this point in your life where you're at university and you're quite young and you're with someone who likes stand-up too, how did the natural progression of like, I'm going to do this thing on the stage now?
Yeah, well, at uni, so when I was at uni, we had like a review thing. And Gemma was a really good singer, so she'd do singing and dancing and stuff. And I went up and did some pub gags, sort of like, you know, bits of Harry Hill stuff, bits of stuff that I'd seen, and sort of I was getting laughs. Obviously, not. And someone said to me, "You should do your own stuff."
Yeah. And
I never thought that was even a thing. And I remember I parked that, so that was about 99. I parked it, and so when we fast forward to 2009, I was working in a proper. So I was working in a design consultancy.
Okay.
So I had a proper job, good job. Gemma was teaching. We had an house. We had a first kid on the way. So Olivia was on the way. So I was 31, and I think what happened was, I think I just decided. I thought, if I don't do it, if this is just going to be something I'll just have, I'll let go of. And I think it was that moment where you go, you either do it or you don't. And I remember sending the email to this, it was a gong show in Nottingham, like, you know, you can get gonged off after 2 minutes. Yeah. And I sent an email and I thought, you won't reply. And he replied, and I was like, oh God. And they said, right, here's the date. And I was like, right, well, I'm going to have to do it. And then you go and it's like above a pub and there's 11 people. Yeah. And it was great. I had a really good one. And then I'm just sort of thinking, I think once you open that little Pandora's box, I think it's quite hard to close it again. I think you start to go. It became. I'm amazed how quickly it becomes a monster. Yeah. In the background, you know.
Yeah, I think when you first get that taste as well of writing something, doing it to people you don't know and getting a laugh, it is this. It's a feeling that. Yeah. You get you still get it now, but I think now it's probably different when you're like, this is my job now, and this is how I essentially put food on the table and pay the bills, but also how I elevate my career. But there's something so special about that first time when you write something and you're like, I don't know if anyone's gonna like this. Yeah, I've not tested it before. Yeah, I just have no idea, and it's like that moment where I don't know that. The only way I could really describe it is almost like, it's almost like, you know, if you ever watch like Cinderella, and she kind of puts on the dress and it's like the fairy godmother goes, bow, and she's like, fucking, oh, I'm a princess. Oh my God. And it's that thing of like the first time you tell a joke and it gets a laugh, it's like there's the comedy gods that go, bow, there you go, you're a comic now. Yeah. And you don't get it again. You're like, oh, I want to do that again. But I remember specifically the first time I got that laugh of like, wow, I didn't even know this would work. Yeah. And you liked the stuff that I just said. It's a very special, like, you wish you could kind of put it in a jar. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I think it's like a cocktail of like validation or confidence. It's quite terrifying that it's filled so many gaps where you just go, what? Like, it's almost like a moment where you go, how is this? It's almost like something's been injected into you. Like you go like, oh God, this is what's been missing. Yeah. Oh, you feel like it's what's been missing. I remember doing that gig, and then they brought me back on for basically you do your whatever, you get 2 minutes grace, then it's 5 minutes, then you bring your the ones we did in Nottingham, they brought you back on to do another 2 minutes, and then they decide who the winner was. And I came back on and said, it's my first gig, and I never thought I'd get this far, and it would be a bit arrogant of me to have prepared 2 minutes if I made the final. However, I have. Right, and they laughed at that because I was, you know, I had it ready, and then I think the honesty that works
and that was the moment where I went, oh my God, I was honest, I was nervous, but I was honest, and I said something real in the moment, and I think, like, ironically, I think I'd gone, oh God, I can even be me. There was so much I learnt from that one little sentence, and then from then on, I think it just I was surprised because it wasn't me, this sort of like, I can't describe what it changed. It's sort of, I thought, oh, I love comedy. Not only do I love comedy, I'm now doing my own, and I'm getting laughed. And then when someone gives you like 20 quid, you go like, oh, a little bit of petrol. No salary can compete with that.
No, it can't. Even though it's just £20, you never forget it. You're like, I just told some things that I thought was funny, and someone just said, hey, yeah, man, like, you know, you deserve that for what you've done. And I have to pay you because you've done a job. And it is one of the best feelings, because it gives you that kind of notoriety of like, oh my God, I said something.
Yeah.
I just said some words. Yeah. There are people who save lives.
Yeah.
There are people who come up with equations to make things better. And you're like, I just said some stuff.
Yeah.
And it got a reaction to the point where the person that is putting this on said, here, man, you weren't that. That's what we've made. But and it's like, what the fuck? Are you sure? Like, I felt bad of taking money at first. I was like, are you sure? Thank you so much.
That's more than £1 a minute. You're working it out. That's £1 a minute. That hourly rate's ridiculous. I'm earning the same as an investment banker here. You start working back and go, we can't carry on like this. I'll be on 100,000 by the time I'm doing 20 minutes. I think what happens as well is it's sort of that thing of the money earned that way feels like, for me, it always feels like a real organic hunter-gatherer. I've written this, I've gone out, I've said that, here's the money. And it's almost like a tangible chase now. Yeah. Whereas with my day job, I enjoyed it. I didn't hate it. But I'd do what I did, and then I'd finish at 5:30, and you got your salary, and it's sort of very steady. Whereas this is moments of like, boom, moments of adrenaline where you go, I got £50 for saying that. And then you go, and so that's the weird thing is when you've got a day job and you go, but that's the safer option. That's the option you should be taking as an expectant father. And you know, my dad would have took that option, but instead I've got this weird mistress that keeps hanging about. Do you know what I mean? That keeps like hanging about. And then I remember when my boss would be like, "Oh, we're going to do an exhibition at the NEC, and love you to be there." And all I'm thinking is, I'm going to Hull for £40. You know, that in your head, you're like, oh, that's going to be, because I can't now do that. And that's when you know you've got problems. Yeah. Or you've started something. Because it's not even about the money.
Yeah. It's just like, I want to get back on stage. I want to do that thing.
Yeah.
Again, I want to replicate it. And especially if you know, you're like, I'm doing a show and there's going to be like, maybe 100, 200 people. That feels like sometimes the win more than the money sometimes. Yeah. A packed audience, you know. Yeah, and it's that feeling of once you get a good gig, when you're smashing it, I don't think you can explain it to people. It's that exchange of energy where you're not even a performer anymore. You're with them. Yeah. You're in it with them, and you're sort of... And that feeling of going, if you like that, then this bit, I can't wait to tell you this bit. And that's the buzz for me. That never stops, that rhythm. And because I've never been able to play instruments or anything, but that feels like you're almost writing a symphony together or something. There's like an orchestra vibe where you're... And to be able to control the energy in the room and see people doubled over and wiping their eyes, you're like, oh, God, I could be... designing some, and design, as much as it's good, you like spinning around a CAD model and sketching and stuff. I loved it, but you go, but look at that, that's and then in my head I'm like, my narrative's like, you can't stop that, because if you don't, what's going to happen? That's what might happen there. That's the issue, really. So at this point in your life, you start comedy, you have a wife, you said you had a child on the way.
Yeah, Olivia. So Olivia was born in 2010.
2010. So then you had one of your first shows in, was that the one that was nominated for the Muse Moose Comedy Award?
Yeah, that was 2015.
That was 2015. So at this point, she's 5 years old.
Yeah.
So you've done comedy for 5 years.
Yeah.
What kind of made you kind of want to put on a show? Because I know, like, with stand-up, you can get into that mode of like, I just want a gig and just do some gigs. What was the thing that in your head said, okay, I want to put on a show? Because I guess there is the side of knowing, was it to get that kind of mainstream success, or was it just, if I put on a show and I put it in Edinburgh and it gets some notoriety, I can make a living out of this and make some money with a wife and a child, you know what I mean?
I suppose it was that thing of, everyone was talking about going to Edinburgh, and I did like a compilation package show in 2013 where I had a great time, And it just felt like the next natural step. But I'll be honest with you, and I've said this to a lot of comics, I went way too early. I wasn't ready, really.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't understand Edinburgh. I didn't understand what it was and what I was getting into. And you only get one chance to do your debut. And I went up there, I didn't have an agent, I didn't have anyone advising me, really. I went up there and thought, well, I'm funny, so this will be fine.
Which doesn't work.
Which doesn't work in Edinburgh. Because in Edinburgh, everyone's funny. So it's almost like they need to stop you when you come into, you know, when it says, welcome to Scotland. And they need to stop you at the side and go, are you doing the Fringe? Yeah, why? I'm funny. Everyone's funny, mate. Turn around. What else you got? What else you got? Well, I'm funny. Yeah, what else, though? What's happening underneath? What about you? What about your, you've got to give us a bit more heart. Well, I've got this great bit about a buffet. Yeah, that's fine. You go like, no, but what else? What else? I've got that bit about never missing a bin day. Yeah, that's fine. But this is Edinburgh, mate. There's people talking about mental health and anxiety and how to channel your inner demons and your relationship with your parents. Is that in there? No. Middle aisle Lidl. There's a great bit. That's going to change the world. So I went up there on completely the wrong page. So there you go.
That tickled me.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that's
There's
so
people
funny.
up there going, when you walk to other shows and they go, the anxiety, and you go, oh God,
I ain't got nothing.
I've got nothing, mate. What it's almost like, I'm trying to think of the example. It's like I'd turn up. I know what it's like. It's like I'd turned up to a rap battle with a ukulele. That's basically what I'd done. And I'd wandered in there and I it never clicked. And because no one took me on one side and says, this isn't the frog on a Saturday. This is about heart on sleeve stuff. So for me, Edinburgh's always been, I'll tell you what it's been, it's always felt like an away fixture on a bobbly pitch.
Yes, that is a great way to explain it. That is perfect, actually. Because it is, the first time I went to Edinburgh, I think that's why I found it so funny, because me and Kay Kurd went to Edinburgh. We've done a double build show, because you don't realise like how it really works. So it was like, we done a double build show, and I remember even when we was putting up flyers, we was like on this rogue of like, just stick it anywhere. Yeah. And you can't do that. We were sticking it on other people's posters.
No one's told you the rules. No one's told us the rules of the game.
Yeah.
You're fly posting over the Philharmonic at the Pleasance.
And then like we getting these calls and people like, sorry, we've got this poster, can you guys take it down? It's on, and we were like, oh shit, I just thought that's what it was. It was just like put your posters anywhere. Then we're like putting it on,
the walls are 5 inches thick. Everyone's posting.
We're putting it on lamppost. No one's coming. Like, but then I remember going to see a show, and I think at this stage, we were probably 3 days in of doing our show. We'd done half hour each. We was at this show and it was so deep. And I was sitting there and I was just like, it was packed. And I was like, hold on, but our show's like really funny though. Like we've got really good bits in it. You've got really good bits and we're not selling it out. What's that? It's almost like you're in like the Truman Show. You're like, what's going on? Is there something that I don't know?
I remember sitting there going, 11 months a year. This is perfect for me. What's different up here? I mean, I must admit the shows were good. Yeah. And I think I feel the same, that you forget it's an arts festival. Yeah. That's the bit I forgot. And like you look now, and there's a few people I remember who seem to have it nailed. They seem to have someone who goes, someone sat them down and they've gone, right, you do 45 first, you under the radar, you get your 45, then you come back and you do your hour, you do your debut in a big room, we get PR behind it, then you get your agent, then you get nominated. And I was like, oh, so there is a system. I just went, I'm going to be funny for an hour in a room that smells of urine and there's really bad sound bleed and I'm stood in front of a Goth's washing line, this big curtain, and it'll all be fine and I'll get get found. And so I went into it naive, completely naive. But also, I've looked back on that, because I've looked back on that whole thing. And I actually think the issue is sometimes then what happens is comics who are like, I like being mainstream or relatable, and it always gets banded around as a negative. But I love the fact that my tour shows now, I'm a better writer, I'm a better performer, but I'm still doing stuff that people can relate to and still can. There's a catharsis and an exchange of experiences. I think what happens then is you sat in that show where you're going, oh my God, they're deep, and then you go away and write your version of that. You see, that's what comics fall into, where they go, well, I've got to come back, and then you racking your brains at you going, what was the relationship with my father really? and then they'll say something. Your dad will say something like, we had real poverty, and your granddad was in prison. Tell me more. What was he in prison for? Start the dictaphone. And you're writing it down, and you have all those moments where you go. Then you go up there and you go, and that is why we need to be a community, because the disconnection in society. And you go up there, you go, well, that wasn't me.
Yeah.
And then people go, well, that wasn't you. So the worst thing you can do is be inauthentic.
Yeah. Do you know what happens? I think that happens when you get someone in the audience who you immediately can relate to, and they're expecting that kind of club relatable comic, and they're just looking at you, and you're like, you look at them and you're like, this isn't it, because I know, like, I feel like I know you, and or you might meet them before or even afterwards. It's like, I really enjoyed it, man. I've seen some of your other stuff, and you're like, I know you didn't fuck with that, I know you didn't like that stuff. And I think that's the moment where you're like, okay, cool, go back to the drawing board, because that's who I'm feeding. That's my audience.
Absolutely. And you're not being you. And when you're not being you, they can smell it. Like, they're sitting there going, you did your bit about dishwashers, which was great, and then you did the bit about mortality, which was weird. And they know you. And I think I made the conscious decision then. It's a great bit, though, the dishwasher mortality riff. But I made the decision then. And I came away from that Edinburgh, and I did get an Amuse Moose nomination, and it was good, and a few things came out of it, just for the routines. And I came away, and I thought, the next time I go, I'm just going to write, whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to write honestly. So the next show I did was about quitting my job to be a comedian. And it was the first time I turned the ship, I think. And it wasn't perfect, but for that point on, I thought, really, all I need to do with stand-up is just make it, because I think that first show, there was an element of it being too observational. And I think when you're in Edinburgh, that's amplified, that you're not in the bit. This is not, any comic could do these bits. Whereas actually, what I started to write is shows where it's from here. And they go, well, only you can do that bit.
Only you can do that bit,
That is your viewpoint, and you're putting you, and you're talking about you, and that unlocked the next however many years, and from now on, everything I write, it is a viewpoint, but it's from here. And I think once you put the heart and the emotion in, you go, oh, I'm glad I had that experience in a weird way, that first show, and I'm glad I could see that. And now when I go, there's just an honesty where I just feel like as long as I write from the heart, I can't go wrong.
And I feel like your audience believe that, they turn up for that. And that's what they kind of want to hear, because then that's how they relate, because they're like, oh, only Scott could talk about that because he's lived that, that's his experience, and I relate to that because that's a bit like my life. But oh God, if Scott can say it, then it lets me relax that my life isn't as bad as I might think it is. And I'm hearing it from someone's side, from a different point of view as such. You speak about relatability, and like you've supported some amazing comics on tour, who are extremely relatable, like Rob Brydon, Jason Manford, John Bishop, Michael McIntyre, Mickey Flanagan. How has that helped you like develop yourself as a stand-up? Because all of those guys are equally relatable. Do you know what I mean? They're just like people you feel like you can have a pint with in some ways. Do you know what I mean?
And watching it, and the opportunity to just watch it as well. I learned so much, the stagecraft, and I learned bits from everyone. Like I watched, when I did Bryden's tour, I watched it was like a full variety show. There was singing, there was impressions, and it was that thing of like, he had such a connection and such They were like, they didn't care. They were with him. It was like it was an audience with, really.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh God, so I learnt really about bringing an audience in and unifying an audience. And he would identify characters. So, like, I think we all do that a little bit. Like, the certain people you can use as a foil to bounce routines off, so it feels in the moment and improvised. So I learned those sort of stagecraft techniques. But I still learned that I want to write stuff that's really no fat on it. Do you know what I mean? So, like, that's when I was watching, like, Flanagan and Manford and people like that, where you go like, oh, they're just getting to the joke. I think Thing is brilliant. McIntyre's probably one of the best, where you go like, it's just literally, it's so lean and it's just funny. And I feel like that's always the comic I want to be. Like, I think doing gigs on the rougher, when you start off and you're doing like the Northwest and working man's clubs sometimes, like these rougher gigs, you got to be funny straight away. Yeah. They're not interested.
You've got no time.
You've got no time. They're judging you, bang. And that sort of I still think that even though I was out of depth at Edinburgh, the actual thing of be funny first is a really important thing for a comic.
It keeps you on your toes, I think, as well. I think sometimes when you can do your own gigs and you know that you're like, I've got an hour, we'll get to it. In the first 10 minutes, it might be a bit of crowd work, and then I'm going to get to the bits where sometimes, I've done shows up north and they're like, like in Newcastle, they're like, we kind of want the jokes, mate. We've been waiting. All right, come on now. And you're like, oh, okay, you guys want it. And that's an interesting place to be, I think, as a comic, because I think for myself, I used to always pander to that as well. Be like, let's just get on with the jokes right now. But I think it's also sometimes taking the power back, and you're like, we're going to get there, but if I get there too quick, I can't let you lot peak in the next 40 minutes when I know I've got 20 minutes after that where I know you're going to be tired.
So you're managing the energy.
Yes, yeah.
So you're basically giving them a 3-course meal. Yeah, you're not giving them junk food straight away.
And do you know what I used to do? I used to go in, because I think what you learn on the black comedy circuit is every joke has to be a hit. So when you walk out, first 3 minutes, big joke. It might be something that happened. Hey, what's up? I see you with your girlfriend. Blah blah blah. Why are you not laughing? You don't like. Big. Everyone's laughed at the big one. The next one has to be big. There isn't any breathing room of like, okay, but it's nice to be here and I love doing this, because everyone's like, no, we need another hit. So it's almost like, like when a singer comes and does like, I don't know, like a performance, and they're doing all the ones that you love, and they're like, we're going to bring it down a little bit now. Let's bring the lights down. You're like, fuck this, bro. We came to see the big stuff. Yeah,
it's when they say, this is off our new album. No, it's not. We're not here for that.
Yeah. It's and I think I learned that from the black comedy circuit. So by the time I started doing mainstream, all my stuff was like, I've got to be big. And then it was almost like for the out, it had to be grand finale.
Yes.
Finish him. It was like, I've got to have, I had to write the big joke, because in the black comedy circuit, seeing all my peers have, like, for example, like Slim, they'd always have their big finisher joke and they would leave on the highest laugh. And it was the coolest thing to witness.
Drop the mic.
It's that moment and everyone's still laughing. It's like, that's my time. People stand up, they cheer. So you learn that. But then knowing that now, I have to say, okay, cool. If I start off in the first 40 minutes and go, I'm doing big joke, and then I know you're going to peak because I know you're tired. I've come on at 9 o'clock and I've still got, yes, we're 40 minutes in, but I might do another 25, 30. So I know that last 10 minutes, you are going to be so tired.
Yeah, fidgety.
Yeah, people looking at the thing.
Bladders.
And also, I don't know if you do this, where, when you see someone get up at a part where you're like, why are you walking to the toilet now? Because I know what's going to happen is someone else is going to go, he's going to the toilet.
Yeah, once they've broken the seal. Yes. And the toilet beacon's gone up. I have had that. I've never had... I did Barnard Castle on tour, and it was like whack-a-mole. Yeah. Once one person's seal had gone,
went up.
And I said to them, I know what I'm doing for merch. Commodes. I'm going to get everyone sat there, just be able to go where you sat. If you want, that's the route. If you're going to go, we're going. When no one's leaving, I can play over the sound of it. It'd be like doing a gig in front of beautiful fountains or something. It'd be like proper ASMR. Yeah. But I think there's that thing of the pacing's interesting because I think now I've learnt to mix up the texture. A little bit, so I am punchy. I mean, we're big laughs all the time, but also there's moments that are a little bit more reflective, and there's moments where there's a little bit more honesty, and then basically I wrote 2 different shows in 1 year. So this year I'm touring 2 different shows. So I'm touring the one which is stand up called Stuff, which is all bits of stand up about, you know, a loose theme, and then I did this other one which was about my daughter, because my eldest had a rare genetic condition. She's fine and she's cured, but we had this mad adventure where we flew flew to Europe to get her cured.
Oh, wow. What was the genetic condition?
This was the opposite of diabetes.
Really?
Yes, it's CHI.
Oh, wow.
And congenital hyperinsulinism. So it's 1 in 50,000 babies.
Really?
So this happened 2010, just as I'd started stand up. So this was like a bomb going off. And you know when you talk about Edinburgh, what's really weird is I had the show. That was the show. But I didn't dare. I wasn't vulnerable enough to go, because every time I thought about it, it was still raw. And I'm a firm believer that if you're in it, it's not funny. Yeah. So you see comics sometimes talk about things they're going through, and the audience just wants to hug them. They don't want to laugh. Yeah. So I was in that, and that took a year till 2011 to get resolved. And I buried that because it was so traumatic, and we were living in hospital, and it was really stressful time. She got cured in the end, but it was a real roller coaster. And then it was only sort of, when was it? Last year, I started to write it, and because it was 15 years on, lived as a teenager, and then I looked and I was like, "There's so many funny moments about living in a hospital and how you cope, and how we had all these weird side effects and met these celebrities, and then I just thought, I've put that show and the other show on in the same year, so I'm alternating."
How do you do that?
Because they're so compartmentalised. One's story, really, and the other one's stand-up.
Wow.
And also, I want to retire early. But but having them both in the same year has been great, because people have gone, "Oh, God, I saw you do, you know what we've talked about, the high-paced stand-up." And then I'm coming out, I'm sat on a chair, and I'm telling this story that's really funny, but has an emotional pull.
Okay.
And I just wanted to wrong foot a few people.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah, I think that's come from 2015, from reading those reviews where it's like, it feels like there's no heart, and then that sticks with you a bit. I'll show you heart, baby. Yeah. I'm going to sell the story of my own child. That's heart. And then I didn't, and I thought, I'm going to make sure people are wrong-footed.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've done, really.
Is there a habit in when you're telling, you know, your personal story, to then realise there's not the laugh where you want it to, so you kind of might jump into like, let's hit him with some gags because I can tell that the vibe's a bit low. Does that make sense?
And that's been a real thing I've had to suppress. I don't know if you've ever encountered that. When you're telling something that's raw and it takes you back, there's a moment in your head where your body presses the safety button, and it wants you to stop. And those moments, the difficulty I have with the show is because it's about a sick baby. I blow it at the start. I tell them she's going to be fine, because I don't want tension. No one can laugh if they're wondering whether she made it or not. You know, okay. She never made it anyway. Follow us on. Give us a follow online. No one wants that in a room. So, I've got some merch. Do you want to buy some merch? So I think what I found with it was sitting in the moment has taken a bit of practice, but the actual comedy is really good at diffusing the tension, and people are able to laugh because there's the comedy there. So it's almost like the whole argument for having the jokes is the catharsis of how you cope with something like that anyway. It's almost like the blueprint. So when your life's struggling, most people start making jokes, or you know, I remember my dad when they had a pile up This when he was a fireman, and the fire engine got ran into, and loads of cars run into it, and his mate had his leg trapped in the fire engine inside the cab because someone had run into the back, and apparently someone opened the door and went, "You can't park there, mate." That was the first thing they said. The guy was fine, but like a joke's to just instantly, you can't park there, mate. Just like straight, and there's something in diffusing it, and I feel like I've learned that comedy's got way more power now than I probably realised when I'm doing something so personal.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. What was incredible was that 2022 you launched your stand-up shed as well, which was like a weekly live stream comedy show from your garden. Yeah. And it was, you was getting thousands of views. You had, you know, press success and virality through that. How important was that for you as a stand-up? Because the one thing that we have as an art form is that whatever's kind of sometimes going on in the world, we can just kind of be like, well, I know there'll be a comedy club that I can go to and perform and lift up spirits, essentially. But I think the pandemic was the time I felt like all us comics was at home and we're like, so I got to be home now. I can't go out at 8 for a gig because I've, sometimes we have it for ourselves where we're like, I just want to do some stand up for me tonight and just go out, do a club, come home. Yeah. Whereas the pandemic had to make us, I'm at home. And so how was that beneficial for you?
Well, it was a weird one because for the first time ever, I'd just quit my job 2018. Mm-hmm. So that decision, basically my boss had offered me a role as a director. So I basically got the lottery ticket as far as but the same week I was offered Rob Brydon tour support. And I had to make the decision of which way I was going to go. And so I chose comedy. So I took, and I'm quite risk averse, so it had taken so much to get me to that point and get my head square with it, that this is what you're going to do and you're going to be fine, it'll all be fine. And we had a year where it was started to roll, things were going really well, and then bang, 2020 COVID happened, and it sent me into this weird thing of told you so. You should have never. It made me doubt everything I'd done. Yeah. And so the stuff streaming from the shed, because Gemma got me this shed to write in. When I quit my job, there was a shed. It said Scott's Writing Shed, somewhere I could write. And looking back, I thought that was sweet. Now I realise she kennelled me. I'm so far down the garden mow, I can get next door's Wi-Fi. That's how far away. She basically locked me off and said, we'll stick him in a shed. He can follow his dream, but I don't want to see it. Get him down the bottom. Yeah. And so when that came about, I thought, I'm going to try and keep comedy going because I don't know what else to do. And I felt like what happened was when we started doing these streams, there's an audience who was desperate, just as desperate to connect as we were. And you sort of found those people and it became like a bit of a community. It was amazing, really, how quickly that became. And people were like, when it first started, there were dogs barking, people were making casseroles and all sorts, having arguments in the background. But you realise the power of it. And comedy was able to alleviate some of the madness that was going on. But it wasn't even a plan, it was just an accident, really. And a way of me feeling like I had a purpose.
So as much as I feel like you fed an audience, how beneficial was it to like feed yourself in the moment of like, wanting to write and perform? Because once that starts gathering momentum, I feel like that must be a bit of pressure in the sense of like, oh wow, people tune in for this. I
had to write a new 45 every week, which is now looking back going, I don't know if I could do Edinburgh next year. You write 45 every week for 90 weeks. I think what it was as well is I was using it as an exercise to keep myself sharp, and then we was doing a lot of these Zoom gigs. And now looking back, I remember one day where we had these, like, you could were sent these. I was doing these Zoom gigs. It was like December, and they were all over. I had like 5 links, and I'd just be like, click on one link, and I'm doing something in Barcelona. Click on another link, and then you're in your shed. It was like became like a little portal. Then I'd go back in the house. The kids are watching telly. I'm like, yeah, just going to Singapore for a bit. Just click, and then you look back and you think that was a bizarre time.
Yeah.
And I remember off the back of the shed, some company, it was this like media company, asked me to do like a little presentation about what it's like to pivot and do something to survive in the pandemic. So there's people who'd done they'd done craft classes online or something, and I was doing this chat, but there was no audience, so I just had me talking to me about me, and then I just said good night. It was the weird. Some of the times were weird, but it did feel like I was doing something. I think if I'd have just sat back and you know, wallowed or basked in the panic of what we were all dealing with, you know, all the madness and the rules, I think it had sent me a little bit over the edge, I think.
Do you find it hard to switch off from comedy in a sense? Because like you were saying before, your wife is like you say is a comedy nerd. You have, you know, your shed in the back, which is like your place to get away from it all in the house, but still be at home, essentially. How hard do you find it to switch off from comedy?
I really struggle with it. I thought about this a lot. I knew this question might be asked to see, but I tell you the problem I've got. The problem I've got is I feel like when I gave up my job, it's almost like I gambled so much that part of my brain's now going, you've got to make it work, otherwise that was a stupid decision. So I've almost got the fuel from the fear of failure, and comedy for me is something that I love it, and it's an escapism, and I'm enjoying it, and I can tangibly see the progression in the career, but equally it's something that I feel I can never get an handle on. I can never complete. I can never get just quite right, and the perfectionism part of me, I feel like it's definitely got hold of me in a weird way, without this being like a, you know, it's an illness, you know, but there's definitely something that it's found and burrowed into me where I'm going like, I'm inseparable from it. Because I think as well, my personality has always been wrapped in with comedy and trying to make people laugh and trying to, I remember when I was doing my day job as a designer, we'd be in a canteen and I'd be trying to make people laugh, and that buzz, you know, and you forget you're basically doing a gig, you know, and then you go out with, and even before comedy, I remember going out with our friends and being in a restaurant, and I'd get them laughing on the table, and I'd be like, I'm smashing this. I am in Zzz's, I am killing this. And then you go off to the toilet and you start making notes going, oh, that could be a great job. And you go, God, what's happening to me?
Yeah, it takes over your whole life.
Everything can't be gear. Not everything can be gear, and you go this is terrifying, because something will happen to you, you know, like, I don't know, and some moment will happen and you'll go, oh, that's awful, that's traumatic, but I'm sure there's a bit in that, and that's not a normal way to think. So you feel that in a weird way it's always been great to do, but also I think it's got hold of me in a weird way. And I think that's the kind of the thing with comedy, where it does change your life, and you know it changes other people's life, but it's like that. There's always like just one more joke. There's always and if it's not one more joke, and there's always one more show you want to do. And if it's not one more show, there's one more tour. If there's one more tour, there's one more special you want to record. And I don't know if you struggle with this, but I definitely have the struggle of like, I think I want to quit this thing, because I also want to look at other parts of my life that doesn't feel like this takes over my life. You know, there's times within even my own life where I'm like, bro, I really enjoy doing this thing. It might be DIY gardening. I was grilling this summer. I bought a barbecue, and I was like, I really want to learn how to smoke some chicken, like or smoke some beef. And I started learning it, and I was like, did you buy a big barbecue as well?
Yeah, so I bought
the
this
Beef Master or something.
Yeah, I got one of this. What's it called again?
The Smoking Bastard.
I've got the Cosmo Smoker.
The Cosmo Smoker.
Yeah.
Is it big?
It's quite big. It's got a little chimney on the top of it and stuff. And
I just love the idea you're down the garden.
Yeah,
You've gone full prehistoric. It's like got a hunter-gatherer. You'll be spearing squirrels next.
Listen, I started smoking these lamb chops.
Oh, man.
And, I'd watch some things online, and I'm watching, there's this one guy in America, and I watch his stuff, and he's like, yeah, man, so, if you want to smoke, first you got to do this, you got to do that. And, he's from like Louisiana or something. So I was like, cool, I watched his channel, started like learning how to properly smoke. Like, so first I learned with chicken, and I thought, right, let me try lamb chops. And he said how to marinate it, 24 hours. And I had loads of family rounds. All my family come round, and I made these lamb chops. And I remember eating it, and I was like, fucking hell, that is crazy. And then I said to myself, I was like, I need to need to let everyone else taste this. It can't just be me, because I'm always going to be my own fan.
Yeah.
I went inside, got all the family there, and everyone's like, hey, you're right, yeah, cool. I'm like, hey, dude, you want to say this lamb chop? And then my sister was like, no, my sister's a very good cook, and she was like, what did you put in this lamb chop?
Spiritual lamb.
And I was sitting there just like, oh my God, I think this might be my calling.
Yeah.
And it's like with comedy, where sometimes you tell a joke that's so good, you're like, I'm going to do it again. Another show. Yeah. Tried to make the lamb chops again. They didn't hit the same way. They was a bit more dry.
But you know what you've done? You've replaced comedy with lamb chops now. You're chasing the same hit with lamb.
This is it. But the thing is, I knew that this second time it didn't hit, but I just knew, part of me, I was like, nah, I'm out. Like,
really?
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, I like barbecuing still. I like grilling and stuff, but I knew the second time I was like, yeah, you can replicate it, but it wasn't enough. I think if I would have done it the second time.
So what's happening with the Cosmo Smoker now? What are you doing with it?
No, now it's got a cover for it because it's winter time.
Oh no, it's been covered.
Yeah, it'll be back spring. Spring 2025.
We'll take back on the lamb. Do you know what that's like? It's like a boxer coming out of retirement. You'll come up, you'll be like, we're going to take the lamb now. Come on. You'll be training. He'll be like Rocky taking on Drago.
No, 2025 I'll be back for the moment, yeah.
Do you know what's really weird is I did pottery recently.
Oh yeah, I've been thinking of doing this.
Mate.
Was it good?
It's fantastic. So,
really?
A friend of mine's got his own pottery studio at the bottom of his garden in the shed.
Yeah,
and so me and Gemma both did it. And it was like a Monday morning, dropped the kids at school. It was raining.
Yeah.
We walked down there. We had no time pressure. And we got in this little thing. He's got his own kiln. And he showed us how to do it. We had a potter's wheel each, just the hum of the wheel, just making bowls, little patter of the rain, coffee, a little bit of radio on in the background. Occasionally he'd check on you. Yeah, it's going quite. You just need the feel of the clay. It's like Ghosts, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and just the feel, the feedback from the clay and the gentle thing. And then you're in there and the hum of the wheel, you're controlling it with your foot. It's mindfulness, mate. I felt like a monk in there or something. Man. And then at the end, then we put out everything we'd made. Then a week later we came back, we glazed.
Yeah.
And now like got them at home. And you go
that
like,
sounds relaxing.
Oh, it was, and for the first time ever, there was a calmness. I thought everything stopped, and it was that thing of. And I've had that when I did some wild swimming at Boxing Day in a river.
Yeah,
that was another moment where I was like, I feel centred. And I don't do enough of it.
Yeah, same.
Because the comedy voice is just... and this industry is just all the time. Because that's the problem with this, is I always think now, I've never been on a treadmill as aggressive as stand-up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's always something.
Yeah, it's always... go fast, go slow, but even when you go fast, go slow, there's a hill climb, and then there's a descent, and then there's up again, and then there's like, I'm running my personal best right now.
Yeah.
And then there's other times where you're like, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
This is just I'm drained. I've got nothing in the tank.
And I think what it is this idea that it's so off-piste, this job. Opportunities don't look like opportunities.
Yeah.
That's the problem, I think. When you're in a normal career, so if I was doing design and I could I go through that loop, I do that amount of time, I work on these projects, I get that promotion, I end up with that role as a director, you know there's a path. If you're in a company, you work your way up. With this one, you can bump into someone in Nando's or wherever. You can say hello. They give you a card. You're off to Hollywood. And that's shortening it, but that's genuinely, you know, you go and do a gig somewhere, someone sees you. If you've not done that gig because you were tired and you pulled it, there you won't be in that audition. And that's the problem with it. I've found it. And much as I love it, I feel like going, well, I can't take my piece off the board because that's the day something seismic happens. But then you start to realise that never ends, Scott.
Talking of seismic, you played at the Royal Variety Performance.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Incredible. So
where did you play it? Was it London Palladium?
Royal Albert Hall.
Royal Albert Hall.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I did the Teenage Cancer Trust one a week later. So when I went back, I was like, I know where I'm going. It's a real like, I think you'll find I know where the dressing room is. Is it number 5? Is it? Yeah, I think you'll find I was here last time with the King. Yes, I even know where catering is. You don't have to show me. So I was like, stage door 11. You know, I don't need to sign in. I think the lanyard still works as a proper wanker secretary. But it was weird because I'd done the Apollo in 21, and I'll be honest, a lot of people say, because that moment, I wasn't present mentally as much as I should have been. I was so panicked, and I was so like, you know, when you do something like that, and you go like, you're on telly, 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 and that's all I could hear. First ever telly ever, and you're on telly, you're on telly. The second time when I did it was a completely different mental space.
There's a calmness that you get where you're like, I've had a chance to take this penalty before. Yeah. And
that's exactly the way.
I scored, but I kind of would have wanted to kind of do a little, you know, panenke at this time. Do you know what I mean? I want to feel the moment of it. Do you know what I
mean? And the difference this time was so big. So, and even though the venue's bigger, the stakes are higher, the gig's harder. Actually. I felt so calm. And it was that feeling of knowing that I'd been on telly before, and I kept saying to myself, enjoy the gig. But that came about through someone had seen me at a gig, and then they'd loved what I'd done, and I remember just walking out there, and the thing I did this time, which I didn't do at the Apollo, I was so concerned about smashing the gig. I think the audience can feel that a little bit.
Yeah.
They can feel, not the desperation, but feel the cadence of it. This time I walked out and I had to look round before I spoke. I had a little walk round.
Take it in, man.
You know, I think there was a point where the producer was like, come on. No, but I had a little walk round. Then I started the set, and in my head I was thinking, this isn't live. There's an edit, so just enjoy the gig. So in my head I was so much in a different space, and I really enjoyed it. And I remember and I had a little bit of crowd work with people, and a little bit of a moment where you could play off the room a bit, and then I was like, oh my god. And then the first laugh came, the big bowl of 5.5 hours of people, whatever came, and and I came off and I just felt that level. That's what I love about comedy sometimes. I love when you do a tour show, you probably the same. You're sweaty and you come off and you've been up there for 80 minutes, whatever, and you feel like you've done the job. There's no better feeling than when you've done the job.
I've
and
done what I need to do.
That's what I felt coming off there.
So in terms of as your end, in some ways, you described comedy like a treadmill in some ways. And when do you think you'll be at a place on this treadmill where, you know, you have, you know, let's say you're doing 10K and you know you can probably hit 15K because you're like, I'm doing my personal best, it's going well, I'm running at a speed I've never ran before, and I really enjoy this. Instead of, you know, bringing the speed down and say, okay, cool, on this bit I'll just walk for a little bit. When do you think you're going to press that emergency stop one day?
I mean, it's interesting because I know I've listened to other episodes of this, and some people have an out. It always feels like, you know, have you seen the film Heat with Pacino and De Niro?
One of my favourites.
It's a great film, isn't it? It's so brilliant. It's actually more applicable to life than people realise, I think. And there's more in it. I mean, I'm a proper nerd of heat. I could go on about the colour palette. I really could. I could go on about the colour palette, the acoustic sound of the bullets. It's a passion for me, that film. But when he says, that he has that nightmare about drowning because he's not got enough time to get done what he needs to get done, and there's that point where you need an out. And I always think sometimes I've thought comedy. This is how I feel about comedy. In my previous job about design, it was like a very steady thing. Whereas I think being in comedy is a bit like a cash grab. It's a bit like doing a bank job sometimes. I think you've got to get in, you've got to make as much money as you can, get as far as you can before you get caught. And getting caught is your age, your health, or your stamina. That's how I feel about it. And I feel sometimes that grabbing of everything is what's fueling me. And I was thinking about this on the train down, going, is there an end point? And I think it's about legacy. So I've got various projects going on that I've got like a sitcom potentially happening. I've got other written projects, and I want to, if I can get to a point where I've left something that, like, all my heroes have not just done stand-up, they've got their sitcoms, or they've got books, or they've got like a body of work. I feel like that could be a point. Okay. But also, I'm also acutely aware that I'd like to leave a legacy for my children in terms of when I was 18, 19, there probably was a point where I thought I'd love to do performance or I'd love to do comedy. And not that my parents told me not to, but the atmosphere of get a job, play it safe, you need to play it safe, that pushes you into onto a track of getting a job, discarding anything that might not be as linear. And I know Gemma wanted to be a performer. She ended up doing teaching because she couldn't see that world either, because her mum and dad were working class. That world isn't accessible to us. No one goes, well, you can just go and do it, and if it don't work out, you can go and get a normal job. And I want my children, if they ever want to do something different, to not have a barrier where they go, I shouldn't do that. So that's kind of a weird thing, if I can leave that as well. But in terms of stopping, it's a dangerous one, because my parents still work. They're 70 odd. My dad's still. Oh wow! He goes round in an electric van delivering brochures for my brother's business because he wants to feel like he can't sit and watch loose women, or sit in his conservatory with a box of wine. He wants to be out in the hustle. So I wonder if I could still do comedy, but on a much calmer thing where I can do it when I want. Is that even possible? Is it possible to dip in and out? Or will I be on stage going, I'm not sharp as much? I should have done that new material night.
It's hard because I think the minute you're out, you have to be out. And the minute you dip in and you get a taste of like, oh, that's when, like, if we go back to, heat, and you're like, it's one more job. And then I'm going, you're right. And you just kick it further down the line.
I don't know. I tell you what I might do. If I start my own pottery thing, just start little potter's wheel. I think it's it's a very difficult thing to think of an end point. And I think it's a great question, because I think the danger with performance is you don't know where that is. You have people who have an amazing moment in the 70s. But you think, can I keep doing this? I think the ghost of Christmas Future is being in your car driving to a gig you don't want to do. I think, I don't know. I think it's that if you can do it on your terms, that's the goal, really. If I can do this job on my terms without feeling like I'm chasing, or I'm doing it now as someone I've taken care of certain things, certain financial commitments. If that pressure's off, I feel like that would be a moment where I can relax a little bit.
So that's your moment where the bank robber says, listen, I've left a bit behind in the bank. That's normally the notes that are marked, or the one that explodes. And then you're like, listen, there's a suitcase in it for my kids. but I am on the way to Mexico.
Yeah, exactly.
This is where you need to meet me, the coordinates.
Yeah, it's that thing. You know when they have those like boxes in the things where you can have a key? What is those lock boxes?
Oh, the safety deposit
box.
Yeah.
I want one of them. I just want to say to the children, I want to say, Daddy's got one more gig, but if you go to the bank, 167, that's yours for you. 168, yours, Olivia. I'm taking care of you. Go and do with it what you will.
That's a great way to sum it up, man.
Yeah.
But Scott, it's been a pleasure, man. It's been a pleasure just connecting with you. But your story is like massively like I connect with it in a way as a comic, because there's certain moments where you say things and I'm like, yeah, like that's my thought process for it, especially with the stuff in Edinburgh. And there'll be a lot of comics who, you know, like I know that listen to this that are in different places in their journey, of some people that have just maybe come from Edinburgh and they're like, oh wow, like my Edinburgh wasn't the show I wanted it to be, but I also know that there is another route as well. So that's massively inspiring. But thank you for coming on the pod, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
And this has been your beginning, middle and end. Thank you very much, Scott Bennett. Appreciate you, man. Hey, what's up? Thank you so much for listening to the podcast today. Now, a lot goes into making each episode. I know you hear my voice, but there's a team behind the scenes who help make it. And if you did enjoy it, I'd really, really appreciate it if you could show the love to them by giving us 5 stars. And if you also have the time, please leave us a review. It's always appreciated and we love reading the comments. And of course, we want to keep making it better. Thank you for listening and have a great day. Peace.